Hello, everyone. It's Comic Book Hangover. It is Friday. That means it's time for another Full Run Friday. This week is going to be the last of my my Halloween run on Full Run Friday. And I decided we're going to end it with somebody that I really like myself. A longtime favorite horror movie monster. And actually, you can see two of him right now with this Funko Pop here. And this thing here. Now, this thing here, this is, it goes on your hand. It's a water squirt thing. I don't know where I got it from. I've had it since like the 1980s, late 80s, early 90s. I've got a bunch of stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about the Freddy Krueger comic books, Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street, my favorite horror movie of all time. Came out November 9th, 1984. Unfortunately, I missed it the first time around. I was only nine years old when that movie came out, but I do remember that the following year in 1985, when I went to VHS, back in the day, it was the first time I ever watched it, and it stuck with me. I mean, I was doing great with the movie. It was scary, you know, all that fun stuff, but right from the beginning, when he's walking down the alleyway and his arms stretch out, I was done. I think I slept on a couch for like a week, maybe 2 weeks after that. I mean, it scared the crap out of me. So Freddy became my #1 favorite. And so we're going to be going through all of my Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street comic books. I've got quite a few of them. I also have some other stuff that I kind of want to show before we get into that. There's, of course, all of the magazines. I've got loads of them, you know. Fangoria magazine. Not the only one I've got. I've got quite a few of them. So there's that one. This one here, this is issue of Fango, issue 110. Doesn't have Freddy on the cover. There is a letter page. They did a letters column in here, and the significance for me with this particular issue is a letter that I had written to Fangoria magazine, asking. This is after Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. I had asked what happens to stuff like his glove and his hat and his sweater. Now that they're not making the movies, at the time it was supposed to be the last one. They printed it, and they said that those items were going to be put in the American Film Museum or something like that. So I got my letter published, and I got a response. So technically, I'm a published writer and have been since like the late 1980s, early 1990s. He was also in other great magazines like Gore Zone magazine. Actually, this is one of my favorite publicity photos from Nightmare 4. I've got that on this magazine. I got the poster for it. It's even the wallpaper on my laptop right now. Slaughterhouse magazine. It took me a long time to find this one. The most common one that I've seen for Slaughterhouse has Jason on it from Friday the 13th Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. Then there was Toxic Horror magazine. Had, you know, all the greats on there. Freddy, Jason, and Michael. Gotta love it. There was also novelizations. I've got, here's the novelizations. This is Nightmares on Elm Street #1, 2, and 3. That's kind of cool. I don't know what the focus is going to do with that, but there you go. There's Nightmares 1, 2, and 3. And then you did Nightmares 4 and 5, which is kind of cool. A little picture of Freddy on the back there. They also did Nightmares on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, 7 Sweetest Dreams. 7 stories, all centering in Springwood. Actually, one of this book here, actually, as far as I know, has the first like full backstory for Freddy. I mean, and not in terms of the bastard son of 100 maniacs thing, but in terms of his first kill in Springwood, how that came about, and kind of how he got the inspiration to create that iconic glove. But these are books I haven't read these in years. What is the date on this thing? 1991. Wow, these things are pretty old. So I've got all those, but of course, you know, we're not here to talk about magazines. We're not here to talk about novelizations. We're here to talk about comic books. So before I get into those comic books over there, I would be remiss to, I'd be totally slacking if I didn't share and kind of show off, you know, the Nightmare on Elm Street comic magazine from Marvel. They only did 2 issues. I love this cover. This is one of my favorite images of Freddy. And for some reason, it doesn't have the UPC. It's got the box there, but it doesn't have the barcode in there. So I don't know what that's all about. But I've got that one. And I've also got the second one. There was only 2 issues made of this magazine. It was a great magazine. The art was awesome. The story was pretty cool. I guess from what I understand, the problem was that the publisher at the time, the head guy of Marvel, didn't really realize how violent the book was. which kind of made no sense because like, how do you get this far into the phenomenon, the pop culture phenomenon that was A Nightmare on Elm Street without knowing that this guy kills teenagers? I mean, these people were all over the place. Freddy, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, even Pinhead, Rawhead, Rex, Hellraiser, all these guys were around throughout the entire 90s. And how do you not know? So we only got the 2 issues. It kind of sucks because it would have been great to see where that magazine could have gone. Hell, it would have been awesome if they would have been able to take those books and just put them in the Epic line. I think the Epic line was after this when they did the Hellraiser and the Nightbreed comic book. So I mean, I don't know why they didn't do that. But anyway, enough for the the opening act, so to speak. So let's flip this camera around. Let's get over here and let's look at some of these Nightmare on Elm Street comic books that I have, because I've got some. I think I've got something pretty cool. I need to check and make sure that it's still there. I pulled all my other books together so we could do all my Freddy books. There's one I just remembered. There might be something pretty cool in there. So we'll flip this around and we'll take a look. All right, and here we go. So I got my little friend here. Of course, this is the Freddy doll that had the pull string on it. This thing here has some interesting history behind it. There was 2 problems that this doll had when it first came out. Number one, there were parents that were actually ticked off that there was a company that was actually producing a doll, and marketing it to children, and the doll was based on a character whose whole thing is killing kids. The other thing is this is the one that has the pull string on it, and it came out. So as far as I know, this may be one of the last times that they kind of mass produced a doll like this with the pull string. 'Cause the pull string apparently became a choke hazard because some kids were too stupid to know how to play with their toys. So because of that, we all lost the pull string gimmick. But whatever, that's it. So he's gonna oversee this to make sure I do this justice. Of course, Freddy, as I said, my favorite horror movie character of all time. Actually, Freddy Krueger is the character that got me into horror back in the 80s. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have enjoyed stuff like the Texas Chainsaw Massacres and the Halloweens and the Child's Plays, and again like the Rawhead Rexes, and even stuff like Street Trash and Reanimator and Frankenhooker and Basket Case. I mean, all these were great movies. I loved them, loved growing up with them. I miss those days so much. But anyway, here we go. So we're going to start off with the Innovation series, Nightmares on Elm Street. Now this is going to seem like it's out of order. I actually put these together with my other Nightmare on Elm Street books because alphabetically they don't go together, because I've got Nightmares and Fairy Tales between them. So I just took the liberty of moving them. Now, I loved this cover. Now this is, of course, that's a common pose for Freddy's face. I mean, you see that a lot, but it works really good with this. I love that cover. I also love the cover for issue 2. It's an amazing cover. You can really see Robert Englund and Heather Langenkamp, Freddy and Nancy respectively on that cover. Such a great job, which is kind of unfortunate because then you get to issue 3 and the cover art's kind of, again, that's a popular, they were looking at a publicity shot of Freddy and kind of drew off of that. Any Freddy fan will know that publicity shot. But the cover art started to sort of suffer already, and then it goes to issue 4, and the cover art's really bad. Now this, as far as I remember, this one does sort of pick up after, and I think Nightmare 4 or Nightmare 5, and it had Alice and Jacob, her boy, the Dream Child, and brought in some characters from Nightmare 3. I mean, there's Neil, the psychiatrist, the doctor from Nightmare 3. Yvonne, still there. She survived Nightmare 5, so she makes it to the comic book. And so that was it for that series. Let's jump around a little bit because these books are. I'll do this. They did Nightmare on Elm Street, the beginning, supposed to be the origin of Freddy. I think there was 2 issues of this that was released, maybe 3. I only ever got the first issue, so I'm on the hunt for the other issues that were released that I never got, because, I want them. Anyway, moving on. Let's see here. We've got some of my lesser favorite ones. Avatar, Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, looking at publicity pictures of Freddy and getting the pose off of those. There's really not a whole lot to say about the Avatar books. I mean, the art, it was okay. The whole thing with Avatar Comics, I'm not even sure if they're even around publishing new stuff anymore, but the whole thing with Avatar was all their books, it was just graphic violence and sex. I mean, they really didn't focus too much on anything else. They were in it more for the shock value of the whole thing. And, you know, the stuff suffered. I mean, like, the covers are cool, but you get beyond the covers and they're no good. Be quite honest with you. So I have a couple of those. I really wasn't that impressed with them, so I didn't really get into them too much. Wildstorm had a run. There is the standard cover for issue 1. It's kind of weird that Wildstorm was at the time being published through DC. I don't know if it still is, but you know, it's kind of weird that they would do that. And here's the this is a limited cover, like a 1 in 10 or something like that I was able to get a hold of. And of course, there's my favorite Freddy pose, which is why I had to get it. Issue 2. This was just a random story of Freddy terrorizing some teenagers. I don't remember too much more than that. This is issue 3. I do have it signed. Harris. I don't remember who that is. If that was it had somebody to do with the comic book, but I got to get that one signed. So that's kind of cool. I liked this cover. Issue 4 was always a pretty cool cover for me. And then there was, I think issue 5 was a good cover too. No, it's a decent cover, but it's not groundbreaking. So there's issue 6. This didn't last very long. For some reason, as popular as Freddy is, he just doesn't translate that well into comic books. You'd think that he would, but he doesn't. There's issue 7. And then this wraps up with issue 8. That's a pretty decent cover. If they could have drawn Freddy a little bit tighter than that, it just seems a little, I don't know, to me it seems a little sloppy, but all in all, it's not too bad. And, you know, the thing that always throws me off about this drawing of Freddy is on the glove, because you have the copper and then it's silver up here. But if you're just looking here, it's like he's got a short claw and then a long claw coming off of his pinky. That always threw me off. But, I mean, other than that, that was not too bad. So, those are all the regular Freddy books that I've got. So, moving on to other stuff. Let's take a look at, it's from Eternity, Fright number 3. Commonly referred to as the first appearance of Freddy Krueger in a comic book. So, I had to grab that. Not in the best of condition. It was one of those books, it was in it's like in a dollar box. And it's like, okay, I got to have it. And there's spine ticks. There's a big spine tick there, and there's some other spine ticks. I mean, it could be in much better condition, but for what it is, it's not that bad. I'm happy. I'm just happy to have it, essentially. Movie adaptation: Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Again, looking at publicity pictures of Freddy. Actually, you know what? We could even. No, we're not going to do it. I was going to make the comparison, but we're not going to do it. There's issue 1. Issue 2. I always kind of hoped that they could do comic book adaptations are something I really miss. They used to do them all the time. Anytime a major new movie would come out, they would do an adaptation for it. And I always kind of hoped that with movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street, you'd always have the screenplay and stuff would get changed between the writing of the screenplay and actual filming of the movie. It would be cool. And I know Marvel, I think it was Marvel that did it recently with one of the Alien movies. They did an adaptation of the original screenplay, which is a lot different than the movie that we actually got. So it'd be cool to see something like that with these movies here. And we get to see the stuff that was thought about but never actually filmed, There's issue 3 of that one. And then there's this one here. This is issue 3, but they released it in 3D. And actually, yes. For Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, you got these 3D glasses. These are the original 3D glasses. This was from my first time going. I went to see that movie like 3 times. This pair of glasses is from the first time I saw it, which was opening night of Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Those are the actual 3D glasses from the movie, which, as you can see, they're basically the same exact ones that he's wearing. So I still have the 3D glasses from Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. That is awesome. I'd forgotten I even had those. All right, so moving on back to Wildstorm. Freddy versus Jason versus Ash was a good example of adapting, a screenplay or film treatment or something like that was never actually made. They thought about doing this movie, never got around to it. Licensing rights or whatever, lawyers probably got involved and they were always screwing everything up. So it never got made, but they were able to do it in comic book form. Now the first issue is one of these covers that connect. So you got your connecting cover. And then you get some weird covers. A weird cover for issue 2. Not my favorite one, but this one, issue 3. I always loved this cover. This was one of this. That is Freddy versus Jason to me. That's pretty awesome. I gotta put boards on these. And issue 4. Now this picked up, after Freddy versus Jason. They wanted to do Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and kind of throw him into it in the Necronomicon, and Freddy wanting the Necronomicon and that sort of thing. All right, and there is the final issue for that one, and then they did a second one, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, Nightmare Warriors, where you brought in all of the survivors from the Freddy movies, from the Jason movies. And they all dealt with, Freddy getting the Necronomicon. If I remember right, Freddy getting the Necronomicon and trying to use that to take over, and ended up in one of the most evil, vile, disgusting places that you could imagine. That's right, Washington, D.C. It's the only place you would find people as vicious and as violent and as morally bankrupt as Freddy and Jason. There's issue 2, of 6. Another connecting cover. Ash. Yeah, there's that one. Good stuff. And issue 5. Freddy's hand coming out of the Necronomicon, looks like. Jason in the background. Oh, no. And there's issue 6. That's kind of different. So it looks like issue 5 and 6 connected as well to an extent. Although I guess there's that chainsaw down there. But anyway, there you go. That's all of those. So let's flip this back around and let's wrap this bad boy up. Here, just a second here. And there we go. That is my Freddy Krueger, my Nightmare on Elm Street comic book collection. A few of the Fango magazines that I have. I used to have a huge collection of Fangoria magazine, and I wound up having to part with them years ago. So I'm kind of trying to get them back. Working on getting the first 100, and then working up to getting up to like 150. But there's a point in Fangoria where, to me, since the quality of horror films started to dip, the quality of the magazine also started to dip. And that was, about the time that, like, Scream came out. I'm not a big fan of Scream. It's like Scream, I know what you did last summer, and then we got into garbage like the Paranormal Activities and Saw. And just the quality of horror films just really has died down. There was a time there where they were really, really bad, where it was just basically, if something like Saw was popular, everything had to be like Saw. There was no originality. But then we started getting some good stuff, VHS and Trick or Treat, some good quality horror films. But anyway, it's not about them. It's about Freddy. So, there you go. There's my Freddy stuff. I got, like I said, a lot of Freddy magazines and whatnot. But, just wanted to share a little bit of what I had. So, again, this is wrapping up the Halloween round of Full Run Friday. So I'm not sure if I want to have a mini Monday next week. Next week for Full Run for mini Monday. I'm not sure if I'm going to have anything for that. I might take a week off. Full Run Friday, we'll see. I'll know soon if I'm going to do a Full Run Friday next week. I might. There's a few runs in here that I actually wouldn't mind sharing and kind of not really showing off, but kind of sharing with everybody. When I do these things, I don't do them in the sense of I'm trying to show off or brag about what I have, because I know for a fact that the books that I have, they're great for me, but there are people out there, even people out there watching this right now, they have collections that put mine to shame. You've got all the great keys. You've got, you know, your Hulk 181s. You got your Amazing Fantasy 15s. You got all these great keys. You know, Marvel Spotlight #5. And me, you know, I buy what I like, you know, and, you know, sometimes I luck out and get a key. Usually I don't. It's fine. I'm just sharing my books because, you know, I like sharing what I have with everybody out there. And if something I have interests somebody, gives you something that you want to look for, all the better. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. And let's just try to expand our horizons a little bit here, guys and gals. So that's it. We're gonna wrap this up. Get off my little soapbox here. So thanks again for watching. Final full run Friday for Halloween. So everybody, Halloween is this Sunday. So please go out, have a good time, be safe. If you're taking your little goblins and your little ghosts out trick or treating, keep an eye on them. Make sure they're safe. Make sure they're crossing the road properly. Make sure you check your candy. Hopefully, you know, we don't have any assholes out there who's going to try to hurt kids on Halloween with the trick or treat candy. There's no cause for that. But thanks for watching the videos this month. I really, really appreciate it. If you do like what I've been doing here, and if you like these, especially if you like this sort of themed full run Friday and themed mini Mondays, let me know. I'm sure I can come up with other stuff I could do. There'll be more themes. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you're enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying doing this for everybody out there, sharing what I've got with everybody. So hit that like button, subscribe, comment, slap that notification bell icon there next to that subscription so you know when I got new videos coming out. And I will see everybody next week, maybe with a full run, with a mini Monday rather. Definitely next week with my weekly haul, weekly review. So everybody have a great weekend and have an amazingly fun and safe Halloween. I'm looking forward to taking our little one out. So everybody have a great one. We'll see you next week.